I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which this episode is being recorded and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Welcome to Can I Get a Refill, the podcast that offers a nurturing and inspirational space for honest and open discussions around career aspirations, wealth creation, motherhood, healthy relationships with others and the self, as well as an emphasis on physical, mental and spiritual well-being. Join us for light-hearted, authentic chats with like-minded women, as well as more in-depth discussions with industry professionals to support your ambitions and heal old wounds as we empower you to regularly fill up your own cup. I'm your host, Steph Bruno-Newton. Thank you for pressing play today, and now let's get into the episode. Hello. Welcome to the Can I Get a Refill podcast. I'm here today with the beautiful Honor Clark, and we're talking about living boldly, diving in and trying new things. Honor, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
This is so exciting.
So exciting.
This is our very, very first episode, so this is very exciting, and I would love to finish by filling my cup with some Verve champagne, but I am pregnant, so feel free to, when you leave for your drinks this Saturday, please do that on my behalf. Okay, so we're going to talk today about trying new things, and I was just talking to Honor about a lot of people think procrastination is a sign of laziness, but that can really be a sign of perfectionism, and I'm a real perfectionist personality. So I really procrastinate things so badly. So even like filming this today, so nervous, and it's chatting. Like, what do I do better than chatting? The insomnia I had last night was so ridiculous, but I was telling you there was a big party outside, so it was really hard. But I just think because when something's new, it's the unknown.
Of course, yeah.
And I think that's what makes people nervous, because I always talk about like the Scream movies. You're always so scared when the mask is on, and then when the mask comes off, it's not scary. It's just some college kid.
Yeah.
So I think it's the same thing. I just think if you're doing something that you haven't done before, like it just feels like the anxiety is heightened. With me, I'm such an anxious person. It just makes me really nervous. I used to dance when I was a kid, and whenever I did in a Stedford, I was always nervous. But if it was at a venue or a stage I hadn't been on before, could not sleep. Because I was
all the unknown.
Yeah, because some stages were a lot slipperier than others too. So.
Yeah, well, it's valid fear.
So we'll get into some points that I have at the end about tips to overcome that procrastination, to just dive in and start. But first I thought I'd just talk a little bit about some experiences I had doing something like new and scary. So a few years ago I went on The Voice. I did not turn a chair, do not get excited. It was the beginning of 2020. So I've been singing for years, love it, love singing gigs. I think I sing well once, like I do like 3 or 4 hour gigs and you're into it after the first or second song. When you have 90 seconds to prove yourself.
Oh my God.
And you're singing to the backs of 4 celebrities. Like it was Boy George, 80s icon.
It's like the worst high school kind of situation. It's like being picked of like who.
It's like that, right? It's like that dream of like going to high school with no clothes on. So I didn't sing bad. I didn't sing my best, but it was the most daunting experience ever. But I didn't stuff up. I just think it wasn't my greatest, so it wasn't chair turning worthy. Mm-hmm. But that's not why I did it. I knew I didn't have, 100 grand would have been nice, but I knew that I didn't have the big bellowing voice that would win, but it was my test for my character to do something brave. And I just think I've just been a chicken shit my whole life. Having said that, I do things.
I feel like you're belittling yourself so much. I feel like you do a lot more.
There's so many things I've always wanted to do, but always been really scared, but especially in my 20s when your confidence is a bit lower. And I'm like, I just want to do this to test me to see what I can do. So didn't turn a chair. And then you feel a bit frazzled that night, but I got to sit in the chair with Delta and sing a few lines of Stevie Nicks, so that was a bit of a fantasy. And then the next day when Alan went to work, I cried once.
Yeah.
And then I always have this thing, I allow myself 24 hours to lick my wounds, to be a sulk. And then the day after that, that's it. Pen and paper, what's my new plan? And then I started like advertising for a band, and then I got straight back into doing cover gigs, which I hadn't done for a while. So yeah, so I just think it's just diving in and trying something new. So but now when I look back on it, I'm so proud of that experience because it was so hard, but I pushed through in spite of the fear, and I'm telling you, shaking.
Because isn't it the worst?
You sit there for hours and they won't give you a rough ETA of when you're going on, and there's like 30, 40 other people. I could have been going on next. I could have been going on in 3 hours. So you're sitting there, and I like to do vocal warm-ups. Steph, you're next. I just went into panic mode. And Alan's with me because they have to have a support person to film.
And you just want to be like, pick me up, take me home. I don't want to be here.
I wanted to cut and run a lot, I gotta say. And then the worst though, I like to take a moment before I do something. You know, have you ever heard of doing like your power stance, like your superwoman stance before you go in? I need a moment before I go on stage anytime to like by myself. There's 7 people fussing around your hair and makeup right before you go on. And I was like, can I have a moment? And then they're right up in your face testing if you're going to panic. Are you okay? Have you got, and I'm like, can you just give me a fucking minute?
Can you just give me a second and then I won't.
Oh, it's crazy. But before you go on, there's 6 months of auditions. Like you go in, and all my in-person auditions were really good, but it was the online application that I think was my strong suit. Because I'm such a drama queen and I'm a writer and I like to like over-dramatize stuff.
Yeah.
So when I remember when I went in and I met this really nice, the producer's very sweet. And there was this, she had an Irish accent, but I can't remember her name, but she was like, I feel like I know you intimately. Because I was like really like over-dramatizing the application. And I think I quoted this Brené Brown thing I'll get into, but I was quoting things like Home Alone when he's like, I'm not afraid anymore. Do you hear me? And then the Polar Express when the boy jumps on the train and I'm like, you know, like this is my way of just jumping him.
Yeah.
But I had watched Brené Brown's talk on Netflix. If you haven't watched it, it's still on there. Go watch it. It's called Daring Greatly. It is so moving. It's about vulnerability. Before 5 years ago, no one talked about vulnerability.
Oh, no.
I never heard it in school. And because you see vulnerability as more like a weakness years ago, but now that's the only way to bravery and courage is through vulnerability. And she closes the whole talk with a story about her like 10 or 11-year-old daughter. And I applied for The Voice straight after that because I was so inspired by this 11-year-old. Yeah. And how she joined this swim team. And they had a rule in their family, if you join a sport, you have to see it out for the whole 12 months. And she was like, it's really hard. Like they're all really good swimmers. And then she went to go pick up her daughter and she's like, I could see from 8 cars away from her body language that she was crying. And then she gets in the car. I'm so going to cry. I tell the story. And she's like, he's giving me the 100-meter or 100-yard breaststroke. And that's like the hardest. Like I can barely doggy paddle. So. And then, and she's like, and her mum's like, oh, in her head, she's like, fuck. Like, I don't want her to do it. I want to get in this car and run with her. But she's like, that's tough, girl. That's really tough. Because they're trying to, build her bravery. And then she's like, do you think I should just pull out? She's like, well, that's a choice, and then she goes, let's go home and talk to your dad. And he's like, yeah, that's a choice. You can do that or you can go through with it. I think you should take it up with your coach. And then so she goes and talks to the coach, comes home and she's like, he said, I'm in, I have to do it. She cries again. Anyway, she gets to it. It's a long story, I'll cut short, but she does the race and like she's like, me and my husband were like Mama and Papa Phelps, like screaming on the side, and it was like such a shitty race. Yeah. And she's like, she looks up 75 meters into it or something, or 75 yards, and thinks she's ahead because she's like, oh my God, I'm ahead. But they've lapped her so many times that they get out of the pool. Yeah. And then she's like, the people for the next race are on the blocks waiting to go in for the next race. Yeah. And she just pushes through and then she gets up and she sees, the crying and the posture and all that. And then she comes off and she's like, can I say a cuss word? And she's like, hell yeah, you can. She goes, that sucked. But she's like, I did it. So I won. And like she cries telling it. I've got goosebumps. I cry every time I hear it. And I'm like, what a message. I know. And then
at 11.
Imagine being that
like
self-aware and emotionally mature at 11. That's the whole point. I'm scared of everything, like everything new I do. Like I'm still nervous now because I'm like, I'm nervous because I care. Yeah. Because I want this to be good. Yeah. I want my words to matter to someone. I like to have a creative outlet I'm proud of. Yeah. But
There's like even the smallest things, you feel so like empowered after you do something. Like
yes,
I remember like I went, this is nowhere near like The Voice or whatever, but I went to do like that 440, that running thing.
Yeah, tell me about that.
And
I don't know much about that. I know
so it's
Jess
like
does it
some
too.
guy started it when he'd been like heavily into drugs and alcohol and stuff, and he was like really struggling, and he was like, I need to do something
something to
different. I
focus
need
on.
like something.
Yep.
So he just run up and down the Bronte car park like every morning, and he gets up at like 4 every morning. It's like his thing. He's up there.
Is it 4:40 because it starts at 4:40, or
Well,
because
that's what
how
I thought,
the distance?
but apparently it's the distance of just up the hill. So then you have to go down.
I just had a flashback of you talking to Jessica.
Yeah.
Why did I get there at 4:40?
Honestly,
and it starts
Jess
at
is like,
5.
it's only 440 meters. I'm like, that is not clear. That is not clear. She's
I
like,
thought it was
starts
at 4:40
Exactly.
a.m.,
She's
yeah.
like, no, it starts at 5.
All right.
Anyway, and he needed a way to not do anything like Friday nights. Like it came to like the weekend. If you're up at 4 a.m., like you can't do anything the night before.
Yep.
And I went and I was like going with a friend, and I went on my own, and I was trying to drag, because I'm one of 4 siblings. I was trying to drag someone with me or a friend with me, but trying to get someone up on Saturday morning at 4 a.m. is like a bit tough. And then after I did it, I was just like, you just have that feeling where you're like, oh my God, I can do anything.
It's a sense of accomplishment.
Oh,
you feel
you're on top of the world.
on top of the world.
Yeah.
That's how I feel after singing gigs. I'll be nervous all day, and I'm so proud of myself.
Yeah.
And you feel invincible.
Yeah.
I think that's why, because I'm pregnant now, obviously, but I feel that's why another reason why my mental health's a bit lower is because I'm not doing something where every week I'm like, wow, I'm so proud of myself.
Yeah.
So it's a real like change in gears.
Yeah.
That's a really good story. I like that it came from a place where he needed a distraction and it turned into something like that. But that's the whole point, isn't it, with vulnerability, that it's not courage and bravery is totally not the absence of fear, because I am scared of my own shadow. It's the pushing through in spite of the fear.
Exactly.
And I for the times I've done that, I feel really proud of myself. My husband's like super brave in the opposite way, in that he's jumped out of airplanes, he's bungee jumped. And I think his ex used to do stuff like that with him. And I was like, listen, now that you're with me.
Yeah, this is not happening.
I shan't be doing anything brave like that. But he would never in a gazillion years get on stage and talk or sing. So we're so like different. Brave in really opposite ways. Yeah. But he's always my support person. And then I did Millionaire Hot Seat as well. And I was way better at that. But that was way more fun. Yeah. That wasn't nerve-wracking. That was on The Voice. It was a good experience, but it's a TV show at the end of the day. I was kind of quiet because I was nervous. Alan's super quiet. We were boring. Do you know what I mean? So
they want, they want
pushing
drama.
For me, going, Delta's your favourite singer, right? Delta's favourite singer. I was like, no, Tori Amos is my favourite, then Lady Gaga, then Delta's third. No, but she's your favourite, right? Winking at me because they're trying to create the story of a psycho Delta fan. Let's get her to meet her and go. And I'm like, no. And I knew I wouldn't get televised. But I'm like, well, at least I don't have to feel nervous about being embarrassing.
Exactly. Or you're not stressing about how they're going to twist the story.
They do twist it. And that's what they want. They want drama, same as maths. And then, but Millionaire Hot Seat was so fun because they're trying to create a character on The Voice. And on Millionaire Hot Seat, they want you to be authentically you. So it was super fun.
Yeah.
I did so good. And I answered the most correct questions in my group, but you walk away with nothing. And I found insomnia the other night. I Googled myself and found some stupid page that someone must put all their ex-contestants and they're like, Steph Bruno-Newton, Millionaire Hot Seat. She aired on 30th of January. She walked away with nothing. And I laughed so loud. I thought that was so funny. But Alan was there and he's the support person and he's really quiet, but he's comfortable in that position. But if you put him on the thing, forget it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's all the sort of a couple of the brave things that I've done. Same with singing gigs. Like I had a break years ago for 8 years and then going back into singing gigs. I'm telling you now, I had to wear long dresses because my legs were shaking so much. But again, because it was new-ish. Yeah. Then recent times, I've been doing so many gigs, you don't really get nervous at all. And the second I grab the mic, there's no nerves at all. Whereas I used to, my voice would shake, my hand would shake, my legs would shake.
No. So it's the worst. Doing my brother's best, I was his best man doing his speech at the wedding.
Speeches, no.
Oh my God. I
I'd
don't know how you would have got it. My God.
I'm telling you now, singing's actually easier. You know why? Because it's less vulnerability because you're singing either someone else's lyrics. You're putting on a persona, same as acting. Speeches, you're
you feel
vulnerable.
It is awful.
Listen,
you feel your hands.
I had a lot of Valium at my wedding because my mum had said something like, oh, it's usually the men who do the speeches, not the women. I was like, well, it is my feminist responsibility I had the longest. It was like
this is my
5 or 6 A4 pages front and back. And I rewrote it the night before on the hotel bed. I took so much Valium.
Fair enough, honestly.
so
and you're so stressing before because you can't drink too much.
Oh my God.
It's awful.
I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm not allowed to say that, but that was a lifesaver for me. But, But again, you're nervous, but you push through it. But public speaking, yuck.
Oh.
Hate it.
Oh, I can never. Oh my God.
Did your voice shake?
Yeah, and then everyone thinks
Hands
you're like crying.
Yeah. Oh, well, but that's the good thing with like,
You're like, oh.
whenever I've done eulogies or like, you know, like wedding things, you can just write it off as emotion when it's really like, don't look at me.
Just freaking out. You just keep on reminding yourself, everyone's here supporting me and no one wants to see me fail.
Do you know what? When I used to do singing and get really nervous, I remember I went to the Opera House to watch a Delta Goodrem gig and I took photos of the audience and I stuck them in my little, I don't have a vision board, I have a vision book because I have so much.
Yeah.
And I wrote, the audience is my friend. They've paid money to watch me. They want me to do well. Mm-hmm. And that was really good because it was sort of humanizing it. Do you know what I mean? Rather than like, you know, like if you're online, all the comment section is devils.
Awful,
but like in an audience, no one wants to boo you. It's not stand-up comedy. Like they want you to do well. It's more that you think, you know, they're thinking bad. They're actually, if you're nervous, they'd feel sorry for you.
Exactly.
You know? Oh, I wanted to mention 2 points that I always tell everybody that I love so much.
Yeah.
Firstly, with this podcast, I will constantly quote Brene Brown, Oprah, and Louise Hay. Constantly. Have you ever read Louise Hay?
No.
You Can Heal Your Life.
Yeah.
Oh, game changer. I'll talk about that in another episode. But she's passed on now. She died in her 90s, but she was like diagnosed with cancer. I think she was in her 30s. And she had abusive relationships, low self-esteem, and she like literally healed her body. No chemo. She was stage 4. They so were told inoperable. But she changed her whole life through mindset, visualization. She did a lot of health things too. But when she got into public speaking, because she was a real motivational speaker, she said, when I got up for my first time, panicked, like so nervous. She goes, when I got off stage, if I berated myself saying, oh my God, you really stuffed that up, do you honestly think I'd get up a second time?
Yeah.
No. So she goes, I got off and I was like, Louise, you did a great job for a first attempt. And she's like, that's it. Just tell yourself, great job. First go. I'll listen back to this episode because I have to edit it. Yeah. And I'll be like, oh my God, my voice sounds so bad. That was embarrassing. I don't know if I'm talking close enough to the mic. I don't know. But why would you presume to be perfect at something the first attempt to do it? Have you ever seen a baby attempt walking, nail it on their first go, or give up after they fall over? They don't even make a face. They just get straight back up and give it a go.
True.
It's like we're conditioned to...
It's like you think you're going to pick up surfing and why am I not good straight away?
Yes. You got to be kind to yourself, hey?
I know.
Why would we honestly think we're going to nail something the first attempt? So she would walk away and think, okay, great. How can I tweak that for the next time? Mm-hmm. And I do the same thing with everything I do now with singing. I'm like, that was really good. I think that note, I could do that a bit different or, you know. So, yeah, I just think that's a really great technique. And each time she improved, but never with the negative self-talk. Constructive feedback, awesome. But the negative thing, forget it.
I always just keep on reminding, like, what would I say to someone else? You're never going to... someone's never going to come off stage, you're going to be like, that was awful. I can't believe you did it.
You would never talk to your friends
like you would
the way you talk to yourself.
I know, isn't it awful? Or the way that you think people think of you. And you're like, I don't even think of that when I see other people.
Kids don't do that. That's what Louise Hay talks about. She's like, babies love their own feces. Like they'll play, like they think everything about them is fabulous and interesting. Yeah. And we're sort of conditioned, aren't we? I reckon it's around 11, 12 when I started to, and you watch kids in primary school, you see the age where they start fidgeting and looking, you know, little kids play like embarrassing and run around and they're so and
they want to wear
moment.
This out. They want to wear the tutu with the like Spider-Man. Like they don't
so
care.
Comfortably themselves. Yeah, I feel like it's something conditioned and I would say Instagram doesn't help because you see highlight reels. Yeah. And you're not seeing really. I mean, some people share and that's great, but you're seeing people succeed. So if you give it a go and it doesn't succeed, you feel like you've failed. Yeah,
and you put it out there as well. Like you're like, I'm only going to show the best side of myself. Yes. Usually, like.
But that's not failing, is it? When you try something and stuff up. So I'm scared of everything, scared of my own shadow. But you know what terrifies me more than all of that? mediocrity and not trying something, living with regret. You know, like imagine if this is your only life.
I know.
And you get to the end and you played it safe and you're like,
I know. Or what are you going to tell like your kids? Like, oh no, I just kind of like stayed in my area.
my little
Just
shell.
did this. Didn't really, I didn't really like travel or like meet people.
And some people don't want to.
Oh yeah.
And
each
some
to
people,
their
and that's
own
fine. But if
entirely.
I've got like, if someone like has aspirations to do big things and doesn't do them out of fear of failing, what a fucking travesty.
I know.
Like
What a waste.
that terrifies me so much
know.
more. And I think that's, again, being a perfectionist personality, I think that's why you procrastinate. The 1%ers and the entrepreneurs, they don't give a fuck. They jump in, they dive in, they try it, and they go, well, I'll learn as I go.
Yeah.
I wait for the perfect circumstances. You know, I went and bought $3,000 worth of equipment. I could have started this on my laptop on a shitty little night, but it's like, you know, but at least I set a date. As soon as you set a date, you're like, you have to go through with it. But you're waiting for the perfect circumstances. There's no such thing.
Oh, never. There's never a good time to have a baby. Never a good time
I was going to say
anything.
that. I know. I'm still not loving it. But I share it. It'll be great when I meet him, but at the moment I just feel real frumpy.
Yeah. You're like, oh God, what?
That's for another episode. One last great story before I get into my tips to avoid procrastination is Sarah Blakely, who invented Spanx. I mean, there's a lot of different brands now, and is it Kim Kardashian's that has Skims? But Spanx was pioneer, right? She sort of was looking at pantyhose, I think, but there was this really great, they removed it off Netflix. It was a Reese Witherspoon series where she profiled different successful women, and she had America Ferrera on one of them. Love her. Wow. I think it's Casey Musgrave, a country singer, but my favorite was Sarah Blakely, who invented Spanx. This woman loves her business so much. She's so warm and passionate. Her employees adore her. I think she sold the business, but she's, worth, it's either millions or billions. It's so successful. I should have looked it up.
Honestly.
So inspiring. But the best story is that she said her dad, when her and her sibling, I think, would come home every night after school and they'd sit around the dinner table, her dad would ask, how did you fail today? I love that. I had this, like, I'm so different to my brother. We had the same upbringing, but I always felt like I was only good or worthy through my own thinking. No one taught me that. If I had a trophy to show you or an A on it. Yeah. You know when like you come home and dogs will bring their toys to show you? I was like, look at what I achieved today. Yeah. And I still feel like it, which is why I put pressure on myself being pregnant. Oh my God, I have nothing to show when you're really just worthy just being you. I feel like I have to have accolades or I'm not contributing. And this dad asking, how did you fail today? Because how the hell do you you don't learn and you don't grow when you win, right? You learn when things stuff up.
Oh, of course.
So you don't appreciate it in the moment, but you appreciate it when you look back. What a great question. I'm so asking my kids that.
Definitely.
How did you fail today? So that they can go out and try new things. Not how did you succeed, because then they're going to be scared to try new things in case they didn't succeed.
Exactly.
Such a great story. I got to fish out that documentary on YouTube or something. So good. All right, let's get into some tips. Okay, so procrastination is fear of the task not being completed perfectly. So any perfectionist like me out there will completely associate with this. So here's just 7 tips on how to sort of avoid that. Number 1, don't wait for perfect circumstances. Just start where you are. So like this thing today. Yeah. I'm just not feeling myself. I'm feeling uncomfortable. I'm pregnant. I'm a major technophobe. And when I texted you saying I spent all weekend working out the equipment, it really meant that Alan worked out the equipment. And I'm like, can you show me how to use it before you go?
You use the people as you
So you start where you are. You learn as you go. Yeah. Just like Louise Hay said, you make tweaks as you go, right?
Yeah, that's exactly like my sister and I started Lido, our like hand embroidery.
I was going to ask you about that at the beginning. Tell me about Lido. Tell me about that
so
business.
we just started it. We were overseas. We were in this tiny little like island off Sicily, and it was just like
where my family's from. So I love this story.
And we were just at home one afternoon, being at the beach or something, and we throughout our trip of Europe, we were like hand embroidering. Like we brought the wheels because we were always at the beach, always like fighting just because you're spending so much time together. We need something else to do.
Holidays with family, right?
Entirely. And my older sister is quite like here, there and everywhere, busy person where I can be a lot more like I can chill and sit down, whereas she can't.
She's like me, you're like my husband.
Yeah, so she can't sit down.
I can't sit.
So I'd be like we're just going to go to the beach, surely. We were in Europe, and she was just like, what am I going to do all day?
Keep your hands busy.
Can't need to be busy. So finally got like her into hand embroidery. Well, she kind of like introduced it to me. And so we would sit at the beach and she would sit for hours and do it, and it was amazing because it meant that she wouldn't bug me. And so then we started doing it together.
I love that.
And we were like, we've got to do something. We've got to come back from this trip. Like, we were traveling for like 2 and a bit months.
Oh, I said that to another girl from work.
Yeah.
I go, when you first come back from your trip, make your life plans then, because you're so rested and inspired.
Yeah.
The second you get back into work, no matter how much you love your job, inspiration's sucked out in a week or two.
Yeah.
That's so true.
So we
you
were like,
get
we've
real
got
light bulb moments
We've
overseas.
got to like come back with something. Like, we can't just like slip back. She was actually moving back from London back to Sydney. So she was like, I can't just slip back into like life and be like, oh my God, is this all it is?
What's your sister's name?
Imogen.
Yep.
And so we were sitting having dinner and we brought out like a notepad and we were like, we got to do something. We've got to do something. And so we were like, let's just start and we'll do this hand embroidery and we'll just get like pre-loved shirts. So then it's like, that's like a whole recyclable, sustainable. And then we just kept on doing it and built up so many like images. And then, it's just kind of like killed it from when we've come back.
And you're loving it. And I feel like any success story comes from a place where you're passionate about something, not doing it because, hey, I'm going to start this to make money. You're doing it because you've got enjoyment from it.
Yeah.
And people feel that enjoyment from you.
Yeah.
Like all the girls at work are like, oh, I need this.
Yeah.
You know, I want to get into that. I want a design.
It's just so nice to also have like a creative outlet. All the time.
This is why I'm starting this podcast.
Yeah.
Not because I think conversations for women are the most important thing ever.
Yeah.
Can't stress that enough. But also, I'm not singing at the moment because I've had such a rough pregnancy.
Yeah.
If I don't have a creative outlet, I'm not Steph.
No.
And my biggest terrifying thing, I'll get into this in a pregnancy episode, is losing a sense of self.
Yeah.
You know, so creative outlets are so important.
So important because then you
Sometimes when people are assholes, it's because they're bored. And I really think
and I'm my family, but mainly like my sister and I are very like creative people. So just like even the smallest things, like lots of drawing, that just like you need to keep on doing that, or you just are like living in like a rat race where everyone's doing the same thing and it's terrifying.
Don't you find being in Italy, you look at life and you're like, oh man, all right, there are economies in the toilet. Like Greece, but they know how to live.
I'm like, I just want to live in a little cottage where I go to the markets and it's a simple life and like,
They know how to live. You know, like here, especially in winter here, all you hear is doorbells for Uber Eats, Netflix on the TV. We're not out. And if we are, we're only out with our friends.
Yeah.
It's a real community, like especially in you know what I love, because I'd never been there before. I've been to Italy 5 times because my family's in Sicily, but I'd never been to Puglia, and I just went to Matera and I loved it. And everyone's out. I even saw the owner of my Airbnb out down with his family. They're just out having dinner with each other all night.
And go for walks.
They go for walks and get gelati.
Yeah. It's just completely.
Yeah, it's really different.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
And there's no like Sydney, like especially is so like 5 a.m. up, running, swimming, but like it's so, because then everyone's obviously asleep by like 7.
Yeah, you can't get a coffee in the morning because no one opened. In Paris, nothing was opening till like 10, and Alan's like, I said, we need to adjust our bedtimes.
Yeah, I remember when I first got to London and I was like, I'm an up early kind of person. I was up, got my sister up, and was like, 7, let's go walk around, let's go get a coffee. She's like, nothing's going to be up.
No, it works in New York. So Italy and New York are my 2 favorite places for very different reasons. Yeah. And I am so alive in New York.
Oh, I can imagine.
I fucking love it. And I often think that God made a mistake and I was meant to be born there. Yeah. A lot of Italians in New York.
Yeah.
No, but it's just, I feel alive there. But could you sustain it long term?
No,
do you know, I think because a lot of the staff workers, they look pretty burnt out at a young age.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's exactly what Imogen found at the end of London. She was there for like 8 years.
London's the same? I haven't been.
Yeah.
Hustle bustle?
Yeah.
No, I've never been.
It's the exact same. And when I was there last
any major
year
city, hey.
for like over a week or so, and then we went to Lincolnshire, which our like uncle has a place up there, so it's like in the countryside. And once you arrive, it's like you can just like breathe.
Yeah. But you look at Sydney people compared to country people.
Oh.
We're completely different.
Yeah.
We're really got that westernized, that guilt thing. I get guilt of I should be achieving, I should be working, I should, like Italians don't know the word guilt. Like they live for pleasure.
Yeah.
Do you know, I will eat whatever I want.
Yeah.
I will, sleep in as I don't owe explanations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a great story. That's an awesome business. So on the next episode, hopefully I'll have a shirt. So we'll put it on Insta, people can see. All right. Point number 2, realize that no one is perfect, polished or brilliant when they start something new. So again, sort of in line with the same thing. You're never going to be brilliant from the first one. You start where you are, make tweaks, carry on, and you get better each time. Number 3, break down your goal into small steps and take it one at a time. Don't focus on the big picture, focus on the next step. So really weird example, but I was watching Friends last night and it was the episode where Chandler's having a panic attack because he has to marry Monica. And I was kind of the same. I was delighted to marry Alan. I was just so nervous at the wedding. Like all those eyes on you, all those different people in the room. And he's like, well, don't stop thinking about getting married. Let's just think about the next step. Let's just think about get home to your apartment and shower. Okay, what's the next step? Put your suit on. So break it down into small steps. So you get
so
overwhelmed.
daunting.
People with anxiety get overwhelmed. Even like a work day. I'm thinking, I start the day thinking of everything I have to do and then I'll just go, okay, the next half an hour I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So
it's all thrown at you and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like New Year people are always good, aren't they? Because I don't write resolutions. I write short-term goals and long-term goals. And like when you break them down, and I got Alan into it and he's loving it. He ticked off nearly everything from last year. So once you write them out and then you tick him, it feels achievable because I just need to work towards that. If it's all in your head, because he's all in his head. I bought him this cheap little Officeworks notebook. Man, what an investment piece. You should see how much he's writing. And he feels more structured because he's like writing today I'm doing this, today I'm doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's too big of a goal, a New Year's resolution where it's like
overwhelming.
Overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, that's also not living in the present moment too. So that's anxiety inducing. So if you live in the present, you're thinking, same with everyone keeps coming up with me with baby stuff. Again, I'm diverting with baby stuff. We'll talk about another one. And I'm like, oh my God, don't send me podcasts. Don't send me books. I don't want to fucking know about it. I don't want to know about how to take care of a 1-year-old when I'm pregnant. I just want to know what to do for the next week.
Yeah.
And then when I get to the end of that week.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
all
and
I'm
too much knowledge, too many books. It's like too over. You don't need to know your instincts.
People are sending me podcasts and I'm still listening to manifesting podcasts, finance podcasts, business. Like I'll be a great mom. I'm great with my niece, and my nephews.
Yeah.
But I got no interest in mum life per se. I want to be Steph and have a relationship with my child. Yeah. But mum life is of no interest. But I digress. We've got plenty to talk about that. Number 4, if something fucks up, be kind to yourself, but don't wallow in it. So this was sort of like my thing with the voice in that it's not really a fuck up. It just, I didn't win the contest, but allow yourself 24 hours to lick your wounds, then tweak your methods and try again. So you know how they always say the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing and expecting a different outcome. So what can I tweak? What didn't work in this? Yeah. But don't attach emotion to it. Hey, like, okay, that didn't work. How the hell would you know if you didn't try it? So what can I tweak? And then next time I'll change it around to that. Number 5, surround yourself with cheerleaders. Take advice where you need it, but block out the negative Nancy's. All success started with some form of risk or leap of faith. So one of my best friends is a man who's like 62 or 63. Adore him. He's so funny. But he's a real risk assessor. So anything I'm telling you I'm doing, he tries to talk me out of it because it's high risk. And I'm like, listen. And the guy, we used to work together, and the guy that owned the company said, Alan. He's Alan as well. Yeah. I don't need to worry. I hire you to do my worrying. Yeah, so like he always looks at what can go wrong. But Alan and I don't really. Alan, my husband, he really doesn't. He looks at, what can go right, which is such a great entrepreneurial spirit. Yeah. So, but you got to have the support.
Well, I think it was the lady who started Canva. She had like hundreds of no's before she got the yes.
Sure.
So many. And now look at her.
She's billions.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
But we all use Canva. Yeah. Like
everybody.
Every country.
Yeah.
I'm such a technophobe and it's the only thing I can use really well. It's so user-friendly.
And like how many times she would have been shut down.
I always relate this story. WD-40 that you use to spray on things. That name came because it's water displacement 40th attempt. I think that's the exact name of it. So they had 39 failed formulas. Imagine if they got to 15 and went, oh, this isn't for us.
Exactly.
This, there'd be creaky doors all over the world.
WD-40 is necessary everywhere.
But see how like Alan will do that. Like I'll try something and be like, I didn't work. I'm a failure. And he'll be like, it's all right. What else can we do? Like how else can you make it work? And so many, like when you listen to podcasts of successful people, Jane Liu with Showpo, I was listening to hers the other day. So many of them, their big success is their second or third business. So you have to do something first to learn the things.
Confidence and stuff as well. Yeah,
confidence and stuff, and then learning what didn't go right and then tweaking.
Yeah.
Number 6, I like this one. Celebrate yourself, your progress, and all the small wins. A reward system makes the effort worthwhile. So, like set up little things like a dinner with your friends. What can you do to like celebrate the wins along the way?
You've got to be kind to yourself.
You got to be kind, but if you're not celebrating it, the work doesn't feel worth it.
Yeah.
Does it? Or like booking a holiday when you've because I had a big debt, and in 2022 I worked 3 jobs, and booking that Europe holiday was such a bloody reward.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean? Like you need something at the end of it to reward
you've got to enjoy life. It can't just be
hell yeah. Like the Europeans, like I was saying, they know how to
Exactly.
celebrate. And the final one is listen to motivational talks, podcasts, meditation, guided hypnosis. You want to flood your ears with what makes you believe you got this. So I don't put the news on in the morning.
Oh.
I'll start with like a meditation, and then if I go for my walks, I might either say my affirmations out loud or I'll listen to affirmations. So I just think we're flooded with so much, negativity, and a lot of it's important, but you can't be listening to that 24/7.
No,
so
I never listen to the news.
no,
I never do.
Like I follow news things on Insta because I like to be aware of things.
Yeah, I probably should be more aware of it.
No, you don't have to.
But it's
we don't
just,
say should in this house.
Yeah, true.
Don't should all
But
over
it's
yourself.
just like,
it's
too much.
Overwhelmed.
It's so overwhelming.
It's overwhelmed. And I'm always like, don't scroll when you wake up, but I always do because I'm struggling to get off the bed.
Yeah.
And it's my wake me up thing.
Yeah.
Otherwise I feel like I fall asleep. But once I'm up, that's when I meditate, and then I put on a vlog, and then I have all my juices, and I love my morning routines.
routine.
Yeah. So flood your ears with something positive because it's all very overwhelming.
Yeah, it is.
I think that's it. I think we've said enough. I said a lot more than I was like, this is going to be like 10, 15 minutes.
No.
I always have a lot to say. Well, thank you so much for joining.
You're so welcome.
This is our very first episode. It's very exciting. As I said, I would love to toast a verb, so if someone can on my behalf, I'd be really, really grateful. So I hope everyone out there. Oh, no, before we go.
Oh, yeah.
I want to ask you a very important question.
Oh, yeah.
That I would like to ask regularly. We'll see how we go. What's something you're going to do in the next week to fill up your own cup? Because we're all about taking the time to fill up your own cup over here.
One thing I've recently started doing that I'm going to continue doing is my sister and her friend started this kind of like, one of them was having a bit of a hard time, and my sister was like, every day, just send me like, what are you grateful for that day?
I was doing that with my best friend and we
really?
stopped. I love a
just
gratitude
3
list, but
things
sending
a day.
it to a friend is a great
And then
idea.
I got added to the group chat, so there's 3 of us, and like we don't talk in like throughout the day, don't have to like chat. All it is every day is everyone's like, one of us will just say, what are you grateful for?
Because I hate group chats and I've left every group chat. If
But
my friends
you're
are listening.
not chatting about
I
anything
love
else.
this group chat.
Yeah. So you just say it, and it's like, it's so nice. Like originally I was a bit like, oh, it's like a little bit lame. Not lame, but I was just a little bit like.
Everyone gets that instinct
Yeah.
towards it. And you know what? I bet the energy in your body shifts every single time.
And it's like, I'll be doing something and I'll be like, that's going to be the thing I'm going to say to them. Like in the day, you're looking out for it.
Oh, okay. You know when you say, like someone will talk about, my friend got a Tesla and now all I see is Teslas, but it's because it's on your radar.
Yeah.
So when you're searching for something that you're conscious of, it's going to come to you, right?
Yeah, and it's the smallest thing, like, oh, had a really funny conversation with my dad, or like stuff like that.
Oh, I do random things.
Yeah.
Not like the basic, like the regular
it's like,
ones.
oh, they remembered my coffee order.
Years ago, I used to work in this call center, and call centers can get very boring.
yeah, I can
And it was me and 2 other girls, and I had this best friend, Simone. We worked together for 5 straight years. And whenever I could feel the energy lull, I was like, work down.
Yeah.
Unplug the phone for 2 minutes. I'm like, let's play the Thanksgiving Day game. And I'll go, we have to go around in a circle.
Yeah.
And say one thing you're grateful for. I would always start with, I'm grateful for Nutella. So Moment always, she's a big beach girl. She's always be grateful for the beach or summer.
Yeah.
I swear to God, by the end of it, your face is smiling and your
Yeah.
energy is different because you've shifted from focusing on what you don't love to what you do love.
And it's got to be specific, I find, because if it's just like, oh, my health and
No,
my
fuck that.
family,
No.
it's just like, no, because you just be the same thing. It's got to be specific to the day. But it's so good. It's actually so nice to do. And we had
love that.
dinner for her birthday, my sister's birthday, and the other girl was asking my brother it, and I thought he was going to be a bit like, oh, what's this? And he was like getting into it, and he was like, I'm grateful because it was like hot today and I could go out for a run. Like and he's so not like that. And I was like, see, this is just so nice.
I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah.
I
What about
might
you?
do that with my friend. I have had the biggest, pregnant women have big carb cravings, and
Yeah.
I went like a solid decade with having very minimal carbs, and I've just had the biggest pasta craving this week. So I'm getting myself a really good like traditional bowl of pasta.
Yum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My body's
You
craving it,
deserve
so I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank
being here.
you
What an
for
awesome
having
chat. Thank
me.
you everyone for listening, and may your cup runneth over. There is no resource more valuable than time, and I thank you for spending your time with us today. Your voice is so important, and we would love to hear which topics you would like discussed in future episodes. Please reach out via Instagram at Can I Get a Refill Podcast or in our private Facebook group to let us know. If you enjoyed this or previous episodes, we would be so grateful if you could please subscribe, rate, and review to help our voices continue to be heard. Catch you in the next episode.